Hi, everybody. Welcome back. And for those that have not been with us before, we are Korean Help, and this is our podcast where we are a community with a set of initiatives in order to help the Koreans within the community, currently in New York City, in order to help those um, that are trying to get growth or trying to find opportunities and provide awareness within the Korean community. And today we'll be talking about different ways to network and different ways to really get ourselves out there. And so I am Hannah. I am the moderator for today. So I will be facilitating communication and being the one in charge of asking questions mostly. And today I just want to start off on identity as a Korean, identity as a Korean American. And it can also go down from not only a cultural thing, it can also go down all the way to entertainment, for example, into the sports industry. So currently, Korean Americans aren't as big or as represented in the basketball industry in NBA. So it would be great to like know more about that and just be able to spread awareness about how Korean Americans feel within the basketball industry.
Yeah, hello. My name is Harold, and I'm part of the network and navigating team at Green Health. And I want to share about. So when we think of the NBA, we usually don't associate like Asian Americans as closely. We usually um think of like white or African American people. So as of recently, however, following Evan Scott, who was like the first Korean American to officiate and like be part of like this NBA professional staff, John Yim, another Korean American, is following his footsteps, and his he felt like that at first he felt like he didn't belong there, as along with the Asian hate crimes that have been going around recently. He just felt like this kind of like an outcast as the only one of the few Korean Americans there. But as they were talking to each other, he realized there was a small community that was growing within the NBA that represented Korean Americans. So in that way, he started to feel like um he and the others were making a change and felt like he actually could follow his passion without a problem. Well, besides like this professional part, there's also been one Korean American that actually played professionally in the history, and recently there's been like in 2017 there were some G League players from South Korea. So recently there's been a lot of trends that have been showing that Korean Americans are making their um name known in this NBA industry, and that as we go forward and the community grows little by little, they can find support in each other and also feel as if they can be a part of the NBA community, especially when they're the extreme minority.
Yeah, I think that it's really important to feel as if you belong within something, or else you're just not gonna want to continue, right? You're just gonna feel very unmotivated when you feel ostracized and when you feel as if this is not your place. And it is sad to hear that because this is a passion for them. Basketball is a passion for them, and personally, I also know that hoop dreams is a really big thing, right? Hoop dreams where you really want to join the NBA and you really want to join the sports industry. I know that's a very big thing within the younger generation and within like Koreans or Asians also. But one thing that really is stunts that dream or like kind of like diminishes it is the whole genetics battle, right? Like the whole, oh, you don't have the genes to be able to join the basketball industry, or you're not going to be able to make it because you just don't have the advantages for it. And it really goes into um, is that a good thing to do? Is that something that should be instilled within the community? Is that something that is okay in terms of like just saying it to children like that and crushing those dreams so quickly? But yes, yeah, like basketball is definitely like a very hard industry to go into. But for yourselves, like for your own professions, like for anybody here and what they really want to do, like would you feel as if you would want to stay within that industry if you felt as if you were alone, if you felt as if you're not being represented as a Korean American. Yeah, for myself, I'm going to business, I'm going to marketing, and I feel as if it would definitely hit me hard if I was not able to see people that look like me around me. If I were not able to see Asians around me, it will definitely make me feel very different, very not able to really relate, feel as if I'm the back
Mm-hmm.
burner. You know what I mean? So, but then again, on the flip side, it's also like I'm gonna be the one to be able to represent. I'm gonna be the one to show them this is what being an Asian is. This is what Korean
Yeah,
American is.
go Hannah. Go Hannah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's something that you need to take with a grain of salt and then be like, okay, I'm gonna take it as a way of improving the community and improving people's knowledge on what a Korean American and Asian really is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I also feel like that burden should not have to be on you. Like you should just be able to like, I don't know, just be Asian and just focus on like,
Yeah, it's
playing
like
basketball.
about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's like a burden in some ways, like, oh my God, like I have to like do this for the community and stuff. But like what if you just like want to play basketball and like be
Oh yeah,
really good at it?
that is so true. Like, but
Yeah.
that's the thing with being POC, that's the thing with being like a minority. Like you're
Yeah.
low key, you're always thinking about like, damn, like, like what are they thinking in terms of my race? Like what are they associating? Like I need to look good for my race. I don't know about you guys, but that's something that I've honestly have experienced where I'm like, I gotta show up for Koreans. I
Mm-hmm.
gotta make sure I make a good name. And I think it kind of goes down to like the culture aspect of it, like
Yeah.
give honor back and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like I actually try to do the reverse of that. Like I'm just like an individual. Like I don't have to like represent like a whole race or country. Like I'm just me. Like
Do your own thing, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like for yourself, do you feel as if like um do you feel as if Asian Americans are represented in the industry you're going into?
Um yeah, I guess. But then like I guess like with sports, I think it would be great to see more like Asians doing it because like you said, like a lot of young people, it is their dream. Um, and I feel like that doesn't really get like supported a lot in Asian communities, like with parents and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I would like to see more like, Asian basketball players and
Yeah.
such.
I do know, like I know Harold, you know a lot more about basketball, but like I know that like it's not just NBA. There's like also different types of like leagues and like other organizations that are not just in America. Isn't it like with Jeremy Lin, like he was in NBA, but now he's in like on a Chinese team right now. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's in the G League, so
He's
it's
in.
like one step below the NBA,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but it's still a very high level of basketball. Yeah.
Mm.
Also, interestingly, because you can't tell on the screen here, Harold is like 6'2". Are you, Harold? 6'3"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't you're not I mean your thing is taekwondo, right? But I wonder, I mean, how has it been with the whole basketball thing? I mean, have you played a lot of basketball? Or even if not, have people expected you to be able to play because of your height, or expected you not to be able to play despite your height because you're Korean American or Asian American?
I mean, I usually play with like a group of friends that like are also Korean, so I don't really run into the problem. But I do when you're Asian, like even if you're tall or short, I feel like there's there's like these small microaggressions. Like it also says in the article, like even John Yim, he felt like he was like low key being pressed against, being like, oh, like happy you have the job. Like
Oh,
when you're Asian and you're like on the court with like a lot of people that are not Asian, you definitely feel some type of way of like do I really belong, or like they kind of look down at you as a player. But that's just personal experience.
Interesting. I see like that is something we keep talking about like how feel as if people look at us and first thing they notice is our race, right? So like for us, as I know that a lot of us here are immigrants or like our children of immigrants, and like going down the memory lane, right, all the way until 1960s when the president was Lyndon Johnson, the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 was passed in order, and it was actually against Asians from coming to America. And it was a huge thing where it's crazy to think now how that's like very normalized, how that was something that was able to get through legislation and be able to be passed and be able to be enacted. But now, like,
Oh, Hannah, if I could just correct that. So the laws discriminated against Asians and other people from coming to the country until they passed the 1965
oh,
Act.
sorry,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
what
so respectfully, we are all personally in President Lyndon Johnson's debt. Otherwise, I know my parents would not have been able to come to America.
yeah,
And yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
that's what I meant to say.
Oh
Yeah,
no, yeah, yeah.
wanted to reword myself. Yeah, I meant to say that the act was actually for the better. It actually
Mhm.
helped dissipate discrimination, right? And but like just looking back and like just thinking about how that's actually very recent in terms of like it's not even past a century ago. So I was just wondering for you guys, like how hard do you think it was for them, for generations or like even our parents or grandparents to achieve what they did achieve, right?
I mean, it probably like sucked.
Yeah, it's a lot about grinding, right? Delayed gratification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, I know like it was like really hard for like people came here, like Koreans who came here like before the 80s or like even before the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something that I think a lot about where I'm like, wow, my parents did so much. They sacrificed so much for me because it's a lot about not only hard work in terms of like literal labor, but it's also about hard work in terms of trying to assimilate, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, like the language barrier, the cultural barrier, and like how you're supposed to hold yourself and what is considered as like polite. I think like for example, one thing that is considered polite in like Korean community is not really looking them in the eye all the time. Like sometimes that can be considered a little bit rude, especially when you're talking to a senior or somebody superior. But then in America, it's considered respect to look at people in the eyes. So there's
Mhm.
like there can be misunderstandings like that when it comes to somebody coming to a whole different country. And it makes me think a lot about like how much I need to also give back to my parents, like and be able to like provide for them because of how much they've done for me.
I'm into startups, so I don't want anybody to misunderstand. But so many Korean Americans, they come to America, and they're not into small businesses, but they have no other alternative but to open a
Mhm.
small business because their advanced degrees or whatever in Korea are not recognized here, or again, the language and cultural barriers, they're not able to, practice their original profession, here in the States, right? And so they've had it, very hard like that. And but also the professionals, right? So the first way, like there's a friend of mine, he talks about when he started on Wall Street, there was only like 4 or 5 Asians, right, in all of Wall Street. And I imagine it was the same thing for lawyers and doctors, right? Once upon a time in New York City, there's only like 2 or 3 Korean restaurants, if you young people can believe that or not, right? And this was not so long ago, right? And so those people also, they very bravely, kind of forged the path, for you guys, right? And it must have been just so hard and very challenging, right?
Yeah, I think that immigration is just like a huge can of worms. It's just a lot going into it. Everybody has their own experience and it's a lot of hardships, but then it's also a lot about doing it in order to do better and invest into the future. And I think that also like hones in on how, like for myself, I feel as if networking and being able to have a community is very important for us as a Korean Americans. But for you guys, like how important, like, or how much of a priority is it to surround yourself with Korean Americans and be able to network with people that are like you guys?
Um, I think it would have been like really helpful for me and like a lot of other people when we were younger, maybe. Like it would have like really been like pretty like life changing maybe.
Yeah.
To kind of like see more examples of like Korean American professionals and like what they can do.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think like we've definitely discussed this before where like a lot of the times in the professional world we won't really see Asian Americans being represented, like not only in the sports industry but also, you know, in movies and when it comes down to like even career paths, it wasn't really as represented, but there definitely is the whole, you know, model minority thing going on where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, Asians, you know, we're smart, we study a lot and then get good job. And then it's just like that's not really what it's like. I think it's a lot of like it definitely puts in, it's actually a more detrimental effect to us with the whole model minority thing where
Yeah.
it really overshadows and sugarcoats a lot of the struggles that comes with being Asian and especially in a different setting in terms of like ethnicity and like
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, and then like with the model minority thing, like you discussed earlier, like a lot of us do kind of feel like this obligation to kind of like help our parents and like
That's true.
live up to this like standard, like oh, like we just like feel this great amount of responsibility being like children of immigrants and stuff. But then I feel like the most empowering thing you can do is like just kind of live for yourself. Like my parents always tell me like don't like worry about like trying to like I don't know like support them and like being like making them proud. Like I feel like as children of immigrants, like the most like best thing you can do is just I don't know, just like be yourself.
Yeah,
Um
I agree with you.
and just like be selfish, like live for yourself,
Wait,
take
you know, are
opportunities.
you know, are you sure your parents are Korean?
I think I agree though. I think it's a lot about like first priority is what you really want to do. Like don't do things that
Yeah.
make you hate your life for the rest of your life, you know what I mean? But then also doing it to help those around you. And you know, family does, it's like number one on my list right now. You know, family is one of the biggest, like I want to really give back to my mom and dad, but I'm gonna do it my own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that like in order to do that, it also comes down to being able to learn how to do it my own way through what other people have done, which is why I feel as if networking is a huge thing. I think that people also have a weird definition of networking where like at least for myself when I heard about it first, I was like, oh, networking is just asking people for a job. Like networking is just about like asking people to do what you want them to do, but it's not. It's not like that. It's about building relationships. It's about having advice from somebody with a lot of expertise and they're doing it because they want to do it. It's not like a contract, right? It's not like, oh, you give me this and I give you that. It's not like a quid pro quo like that at all. And I think it's necessary to be able to network and be able to surround yourself with motivational people in order to help yourself become motivational and become what you want to be and be like your role models.
Hmm.
Like that whole thing with you are the average of the people around you. I think that's very true. So I know that like there is also a program that's being launched soon by KIP, which is Korean Internship Program, which is a series of different webinars where there are going to be a lot of mentorship going on for students and for anybody that needs advice or needs mentorship in terms of their career path and in terms of professionalism. So I was wondering, JD, I know that you are like very big with KIP, and I was hoping that you can discuss a little bit more about it so that we can help the audience know more as well.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll back up a little bit. And I was going to say earlier that, you know, Jewish Americans, for example, right, they tend to do do a much better job of networking and staying tight as a community than other ethnicities, including Korean Americans, in my opinion, right? So in all of Israel, there's only something like 8 to 10 million people. In contrast, or by contrast, in Korea, in South Korea, we have how much is it?
Like 50
30 over, yeah, it's between 30 and 50 million people, right? And yet, Jewish Americans hold so many leadership positions in business, in the nonprofit world, in government, right? And they look out for each other in so many occasions, and they help each other, right? And they help each other, get a leg up. So I think that Korean Americans, we need to do a lot more of that, right? Because we have so many disadvantages to begin with that we talked about earlier, right? Language barriers, cultural barriers, right? And Korean people consider themselves very smart, right? And very what do you call it? Very quick and very capable. And my humble opinion, I would agree with that in a lot of cases. Not that it's always used to good effect, but anyways, but some of those, so many of those advantages are just nullified or held back because of language and cultural barriers. And you see these incredibly smart, capable people reduced to, whatever, being almost helpless in some extreme cases, right? But and as we were talking earlier, right? So the first wave of professionals, Korean American professionals, they're out there now, right? They bravely forged that path, and they literally had nobody before them, right? Again, when there's only 3 Korean restaurants in the whole city, all of New York City, that gives you some idea of what the landscape was like back then. They had no Korean American or Asian American mentors to help them out, right? And so what we find is so many of them are interested in helping the next generation, because now people your age, right, college students, young adults, they have that whole wave before them, right? You guys know from some of the conversations and research we've done earlier, there are quite a lot of just kick-ass Korean American lawyers, Korean American doctors, and so on and so forth, right? And so the new series is about mentors, right? And so the idea is to gather students interested in a specific area, like say healthcare, and then kind of match them to like a kick-ass like doctor or PA or nurse, and then and who better to ask the questions and the students interested in that field themselves, right? And so, and then chances are, what is discussed there and the information and valuable life experiences shared, during that session is not valuable to 3 or 4 people, is valuable to thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands across the country, right? And so that's why we'll do this series, we'll record it, and then we'll make it available as a library for any Korean Americans and non-Korean Americans too, to see and learn from that, the valuable insights shared, right? And Hannah, I know the one of the particular mentor figures that you've been having conversations with wishes to remain more anonymous, but I was wondering if you wanted to share some of the shareable benefits that you've received from that.
Yeah, so for me, I am in business, but for a while, like still currently I am thinking about law and being able to pursue that. Corporate law is something that I am thinking about on alongside with marketing, even though they're very different things. So mentorship really helped me with being able to get structure with my thought process, with my own career. And Korean Help really helped me with that in order to be able to get in touch with people that know how to answer my questions. And it was great. Like my mentor currently, like we meet once a month. We discuss everything from like what we eat, her dogs, to like what she did in law school, how she got her foot in the door in the industry, and just like also giving a lot of informational and motivational advice. And I think it's really helped me learn about the realities of what the career world is, because I feel as if college and school does glorify it and romanticize it a lot, where it's something that we strive for, but there's a lot of hardships along the line, right? There's a lot of stress and overthinking and doubt. And having my mentor to talk to me helped with a lot of clarity on my part, and being able to um, clear out what my own path will be. And so I honestly recommend it. Like if anybody ever asks me about mentorship, I will always advocate for it. I just think that it's always great to have a second opinion. Of course, make it limited. Like, don't ask everybody the same question, but ask questions to those that are professionals. And that's what mentorship is. That's what KIP will provide with webinars. Yeah, and I think that for now, like, it is something that I am seriously looking into, and that's what my mentor helped me with to do. You know, especially when it comes down to like resume tips, interview tips, you can always ask that as well. And I also know that Harold, like, you're actually looking into going into the KIP mentorship webinar series. So I was wondering, like, if you can discuss even more about that for yourself.
Yeah, so I decided I was gonna switch to business. I mean to PA from business. So um like many college students, like I just like recently made this choice, and it was like someone like out of the blue for a lot of people who I told to.
With your parents?
I mean,
No?
yeah, his
Oh,
parents were
okay.
the one that kind of like persuaded me, but
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Wow, wow.
got it.
um yeah, but that was because I was like very wishy-washy on what I wanted to do, and I didn't really like. I just said business, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. So for people like that, I think this is a great opportunity because I think a lot of us just go to school, will like go to school, you know, without like no real
I agree.
future. Like we just do the work and then we say what we want to do, and then we really don't,
Yeah,
or at least that's how I was.
yeah.
Like actually talking to people, learning about the process, so that we're better prepared, especially that when there's a whole Korean community that's like very eager to help
Yeah, it's
because
there.
they went through the same thing but without the same resources that we have available right now. So yeah, I think it's a good opportunity.
And for those listeners interested in the healthcare profession, one of the most kick-ass Korean Americans ever, Dr. Laura Kim, who works closely with Korean Health, she has offered to help connect with nurses and PAs, and of course she herself will be on the series as well.
Yeah, I remember having her with us before, and I love her. Like, she was just very like open. She was an open book. And I think that's something to also keep in mind. Like, I feel like some people get scared of reaching out just because they feel as if they don't know either what to ask, or they feel as if the professional will look down on them. But it's not like that at all. Like, they want to help. They are willing to give all these resources, all these different connections and opportunities. Like, I know that as a college student or high school student, one thing that we worry a lot about is having opportunities, internships, co-ops, all that jazz. And this is a great way to get that. It's literally a direct way to get opportunities like that. So definitely take advantage of this if you are looking for mentorship or need some kind of guidance in terms of your own career path.
And the last thing I'll say today is, once in a while, I just realize, there are just so many amazing kick-ass Korean Americans out there.
I
And
agree.
it makes me really just genuinely proud to be Korean American, I'll tell you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. 110%. It's just, it's a pleasure being Korean American, you know? Like, own up, own it, you know, it's our identity. And with that said, that is all the time that we have today. So thank you everybody for listening. And always remember that your voice is powerful, and make sure you are being heard by being active in your community. Maybe that means joining the webinar series. And to learn even more about the different Korean help efforts and KIP efforts, take a look at our website, koreanhelp.org. That is all lowercase, no spaces, koreanhelp.org. And don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.